I jump into this video, I just want to say a big thank you and a big shout out to my 3 subscribers. I know most YouTubers don't do this, but I am a very grateful person. I always take gratitude in the little things. I went from 0 to 3. That's 3 more than I had when I started this. So I really want to show you guys my appreciation and say a big thank you. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, we as United fans really deserve this week that we just had. Liverpool out of the Champions League, Liverpool out of the Carabao Cup, from a quadruple and a possible trouble to a single. So that is great. We can celebrate that. And then Man United winning against Real Sociedad and against Leicester City, things are looking up. But we have to be careful. We have to be cautious. We cannot swing too far in one side of the spectrum. When we're winning, we need to be measured, and when we're losing, the exact same thing needs to be the case. I'm seeing people now saying Ruben Amorim's system is working, da 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 da. You have to understand something, right? The coach doesn't play on the field. This isn't FIFA. He's not controlling the players. He's not deciding every single moment in the pitch. The system is reliant on the personnel. While the result did show 3-0, it was actually not the best performance because the intensity wasn't there. Granted, it was due to the fact that we played during the week and the players might have been a little bit tired, and you could tell that they were a bit leggy, and also the exemption of Dorgu because of his red card definitely played an impact in the overall game. You could tell the pace of the game was a lot slower than it usually would be with Dorgu being there. There's also the blow from Aiden Heaven, and even when that happened, you could see there was a difference. Which brings me to what I've been saying in my other video backing up the manager. What I was telling people was you cannot judge the system if the system has not been implemented yet. You cannot say the system is failing when we haven't seen the system work in fruition. Now, it is possible the system may not be what Amorim think it would be, but we've seen glimpses. And the key part about the system working is the players on the pitch. When we have the right players in the right positions doing the right things, well, the system starts to come to life. Right now, it's not fully there yet. You can see how Dogo is moving on the left hand side. Amorim wants that to be on both sides. You can see the amount of space Dogo could get because when the defense is actually pushing upwards, they become like the midfield when we're on offense, and then our midfield can now push a bit forward. That's why you see Bruno, even though he's playing a bit deeper, is now actually scoring more goals and impacting the game a lot more, even though he's now further backwards. Now, he couldn't do this before in the past because two reasons. We just didn't have the personnel to clog that gap. Delete is an unsung hero right now. He's able to press up front, like he's not afraid of going forward. Prior to that, we had Maguire and we had some players that were a bit uncomfortable doing that. Even Casemiro, even though we played really well against Real Sociedad, you could tell Amorim has adjusted to Casemiro and understood that that's not the kind of player he is. He's too old to do that. He doesn't have the legs for it. Even the last game against Leicester, you could immediately see that when Eriksen came in, he was just not fit for the system. Now, people are being a bit too harsh on Eriksen. I get it, he's older, he's probably not here for the long-term plans. But the reason why I believe Eriksen was poor last game was obviously the athleticism, the age, all of that, but most importantly, game time. There's something called match fitness. Eriksen's not quite there yet. That being said, I wasn't impressed with his performance, but you could see when you have players like Lindelof, Ericsson that have not been in the squad for a very long time, the system doesn't really shine through. And that's what we have to understand. The problem is when we win games, fans automatically assume that the system is working. Everything is starting to click because we're getting results. But that's not how you should view it. You should view it holistically. It should not, your emotions or your idea about the manager's long-term plans should not be grounded upon results because that's not how you win the title. You need consistent performances. Liverpool right now, they've dropped out of Carabao Cup, they've dropped out of Champions League. But while it's fun to banter them and celebrate their downfall, none of us are going to be like, oh, Liverpool is a bad team, because we know game in, game out, they always perform. Now, against Newcastle, I would say that was actually the worst performance. PSG first leg, same thing. Second leg was a bit like, what you would expect from them. But the first leg, they got the win, right? But if you judge that based on just the outcome, you're going to be like, oh, Liverpool system was working against PSG in the first leg. But if you actually watch the game and be objective about it, it wasn't working. The same applies to every team, including Manchester United. As we currently play Amorim style, naturally, as the more games pass by, Players will adapt more, understand the system a bit more, feel more comfortable because of the repetition, which is a good thing. But there is a limit. Like, your system would always be hampered by the individuals you have to execute it. When Pep Guardiola was in Bayern Munich and Iron Robin, comes in, cuts in, and does the finesse, that's just a trait that Robin has. When Lewandowski came in, broke that record, scored 4 goals immediately. It's not Pep telling him to do that. It's the personnel. The system also is not the formation, because sometimes people equate the two. The fact that he's using the same formation means that's the system. Not necessarily. That's the formation that he feels is best to execute the system. He even says it himself. It is not about the formation, guys. He repeats this so many times. It is not about the formation. If you watch his interviews, and that's the refreshing thing about having a manager like Amorim, because he's so refreshing in terms of, like, he tells you everything. Sometimes a bit too honest, but as a fan, it's easier for me to actually know exactly what he wants to do, because he's consistent with what he says and what we see. The problem is fans are emotional, and that is normal. I am too. I don't like seeing Manchester United be 13th now. We were 15 before, but whatever. This is where we are. This is not where we should be, but we should focus more on the reality that is right now, as opposed to like where we're going to be in the future. Because in order to get to that place, we have to focus on what we have and build around that. Now, another thing I want to mention is Bruno Fernandes, our captain. For some reason, some people in this fan base do not like this guy. I do not quite understand how our best performer with goals and assists is the most hated. Somehow, our position right now is due to Bruno Fernandes. That's how some people see it. I disagree with this notion, and for some reason, they believe that without Bruno Fernandes, we would be a better team. I cannot wrap my head around that logic, but hey, whatever. Now, I'm not saying Bruno is without criticism or anything like that, because when he does play, he does give the ball away a lot. But that's what happens when you're the most creative person. And another flaw of Bruno is he always tries to do too much because he doesn't trust his teammates. Amorim has also said this in interviews that he needs to trust his teammates more, and we can kind of see that now. I remember in this game, when I was watching this game, I could see him see a ball, like an opponent running down, and normally what Bruno would do is he would leave his position and chase that player. Like, Bruno is everywhere. If you look at his heat map, he's everywhere. That's not actually how Amorim's system is supposed to work. You're supposed to play your role. That's how it works. If you're here, you play around that area. Maybe if you overlap, but generally you stick to your position. And he says it a lot, not just with Bruno, but with the entire team, that when we start losing games or we go down one or whatever, we lose discipline and we don't do the same things that we're supposed to do. Bruno can be criticized for sometimes going out of position, and sometimes that could be a bad thing. But again, he's reacting to the team around him, not taking responsibility off of him, because it is clear that right now that he is sticking to his role and doing exactly what is being asked of him. The team is playing better, but to go ahead and say we should get rid of Bruno simply because of his flaws, knowing fully well that these are things we could work on, that doesn't sit well with me. There have been other teams as well where you have a player that's aging or that's slowly on the decline, but they can still offer something. And I think Bruno is far from a decline. I think we can get a good 2-3 years out of Bruno still, because of his relentlessness, his availability, and just overall his fitness. That is just something that's crazy. When James Milner, and by the way, I think Bruno is a better player than Milner, that's just me. But when James Milner was in his 30s or whatever, you could still see, because of his athleticism, his physicality, that he could still offer you something. So the idea that we want to get rid of Bruno, that is literally the reason why we're not getting relegated, it's kind of crazy to me. He's involved in almost everything that we do. So in conclusion to this video, all I want to say is this: the system is not the formation. The system is not fully there yet. We haven't turned the corner. We've gotten good results, which is great, and we can build on it. It works for the players' confidence and everything on the pitch, but we must stay measured. We must stay calm. The system isn't fully there. We need a few players to come in, and the good thing is we have a manager that can do a lot with so little. Because right now you can see Heaven, you can see Dory, you can see Collier. These are players that we didn't expect to be this impactful. Even Harry Amas. So this is a manager that can work with the youth. So we just have to give him time, be patient, not be reactionary, and do not always judge by the scoreline. Judge the actual performance and look at it without emotion. Just be a bit pragmatic about your analysis and your judgment, because at the end of the day, what fans don't do is we don't look at ourselves. We don't look at our influence on these players. This is the modern age. These are younger football players. These players do hear what we say they feel that energy and everything. And being negative or criticizing our best players, that doesn't help us as fans. We don't want these players to take our negativity onto the pitch and then lose, and then basically it's like this cycle. We need to be supporters. That's what it means to be a fan. Support the team. Criticize them when it's fair, when it's due. Criticism isn't necessarily negative, but we go a bit too far sometimes, especially with players like Bruno, and we create a toxic atmosphere around our club that actually deters players from coming over. Because you have to understand, these players have friends. They also talk to the professionals. They talk to their colleagues, right? They tell you about their experience, the fans, and everything. And if people are hearing things that are negative, they'll be less likely to come here. That's what I truly believe. The younger lads, they're hungry and everything. Sure, those are our targets right now. But if we want to get bigger players to come in to United, we as a fan, as a collective, the board, the leadership, everyone, we need to be on the same page, to, so to speak. We are not a good team right now. We're not a well-run club right now, but we can help the process as well. We have a role to play. We have to be a bit measured with our opinions and how we talk about our own players. It's one thing if you're slagging off the opposition players, but we need to be a bit measured about us. We have to keep a level headed. We can't get too excited when we get a win. We can't get too negative when we get a loss. And more importantly, let's actually see where this manager is trying to go with this club. Let's see the vision for this club. And then we can now conclude whether Amorim is the man for United or if he's the stepping stone to the next guy. Anyways, if you made it this far, appreciate you watching. Thank you so much for watching. Shout out to my 3 subscribers. Really appreciate you guys. You have no idea how happy that makes me that I actually went from 0 to 3. Like, you guys don't know me and you guys just gave me that vote of confidence, and I'll do my best to keep improving. Right now, there's no branding or nothing yet on my channel because I want to focus more on the consistency of bringing out content, and I will learn and I will grow as time progresses. But honestly, I'm truly happy and truly grateful for the 3 of you, and I hope you have a great time. And for everyone else who's coming, leave a like and subscribe if you like what you see, you want more content, and I'll do my best to keep bringing you guys good content. Until next time, it's been the Realistic Red.